Chapter 61. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Coulson finished speaking, he asked Su-Jean expectantly. He was looking forward to Su-Jean's ability to predict the future. If he could know anything, it would be much faster than them investigating clues. Oakland, California. Su-Jean thought about it and said. Coulson was immediately overjoyed and hurriedly asked, "What are the details?" "It should be an abandoned factory. I don't know the other locations." Enough. Although Coulson was a little disappointed, it was good enough that he had already locked down the approximate location. If they were allowed to investigate on their own, they didn't know how long it would take to find this clue. Without Coulson's orders, the others were already busy, starting to search and lock in the specific location. How do you know this?" Michael didn't seem to get used to this rhythm yet. Seeing others busy, he felt a little at a loss, so he walked next to Su-Jean, maybe thinking that he and Su-Jean were the same kind of people. After all, they were not ordinary people. Predicting the future is a not too reliable ability. Su-Jean said calmly. "It's amazing. How do you have this ability? I mean, are you born with it? Or, like me?" Michael asked curiously. "You can ask them this question later, and they should tell you." Su-Jean was not interested in explaining. Looking at Michael, he suddenly asked, "Have you always wanted to be a hero?" "Yes. Now that I have this ability, I hope to become a hero and help others. My son also admires heroes, so I want to be a hero," Michael said with happiness on his son's face. "What if the cost of being a hero is that you sacrifice a lot and lose a lot? For example, your arms or legs?" Su-Jean asked. Michael frowned slightly, as if he was really thinking about this problem. After a while, he shook his head. "I don't know." Su-Jean shrugged and didn't ask further. "Found it!" Sky suddenly shouted, and a picture suddenly appeared on the virtual screen, which was a picture of an abandoned factory. Through the nearby surveillance, it can be determined that this is where it is. "Okay, then get ready to go. Michael, let's make you a battle suit. I think you might like it," Fitz said towards Michael. Michael nodded excitedly, and Su-Jean followed curiously. In the laboratory, Fitz took out a black combat uniform. Michael took it, looking a little excited. For superheroes, combat uniforms are also a symbol. Michael had always dreamed of becoming a hero, so now that he has a battle suit, you can imagine how excited he is. After putting it on, Michael showed it to everyone. "How do you feel?" Fitz asked with a smile. "It feels very helpful and comfortable. This suit can help you adapt to many tactical tasks, and it can also measure your heart rate, systolic blood pressure, and blood sugar, so you can accurately grasp your physical condition. Of course, it also has the most advanced bulletproof protection function," Fitz said in explanation. "Thanks." Michael thanked them sincerely. "What do you think? Do you want to help you get one?" Fitz turned his head and asked Su-Jean. Su-Jean didn't say anything, but suddenly released his battle uniform and condensed it on his body. Well, pretend I didn't say that." Seeing Su-Jean's clothes and then Michael's clothes, Fitz wisely chose to shut up. "Let's not talk about the functions for the moment. We can distinguish the high and low from the shape. Michael's suit looks like that of a third-rate street hero, while Su-Jean looks like a cosmic-level superhero, a completely different level. However, the function of this battle suit is still good. Can you make a few for me later?" "Of course. I want this style," Su-Jean asked. "No problem." Fitz agreed simply. "We have destroyed their factories before, but they will rebuild them soon. So this time, we have to figure out what useful information we can get, so we have to act quietly this time. Su-Jean, you enter from the west entrance, and Michael and I enter from the direction of the dock." Michael was holding a computer with a floor plan of the factory on it. "Once you have your location memorized, get ready to take action." Su-Jean and May entered the factory through the west gate. The factory was a bit dark and empty, with many cargo boxes placed there. After coming in, Su-Jean looked around and said casually, "It seems that this place has been cleared. It may be too late." As soon as he finished speaking, Coulson and Michael had already encountered the centipede warrior and started fighting. Walk! Su-Jean shouted, and he and May went towards Coulson to support him. Just after running 2 steps, he suddenly heard a loud noise next to him. The door of a cargo box was pushed open forcefully, and a centipede warrior walked out of it. Okay, hand over. Su-Jean shrugged and was about to take action. May, who was next to him, had already rushed forward and started fighting with the centipede warrior. I have to say that May's close combat skills are indeed very powerful, and she deserves to be known as a cavalryman. However, although May's attacks are sharp, they are not enough for a super warrior like Centipede Warrior. Her attacks will not cause harm to the opponent at all. Even with several fierce kicks, the opponent did not even move. One time, this made May somewhat unexpected. At this moment, Centipede Warrior grabbed her arm and hit her with a fist. May tried to struggle, but it didn't help, so she closed her eyes subconsciously. Boom! Bang! There was a loud noise, as if something hit the cargo box. May opened her eyes and found a huge dark green fist floating in front of her. She subconsciously turned her head and saw that Su-Jean had withdrawn his energy and walked over. Thank you. May whispered her thanks. Su-Jean shook his head with a smile and walked towards the Centipede Warrior. Chapter 0078 Virus Fusion. The box of goods was dented, and Centipede Warrior lay on the ground unable to move. Despite his physical fitness, he was very capable of resisting a blow, but being punched by the energy of the Ether Lantern Ring was too much for him and he couldn't bear it. Chapter 62. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Seeing Su-Jean approaching, he struggled to get up, but failed to climb up several times. Suddenly, his body stood up on its own. No, not standing up, but floating. Su-Jean slowly stretched out his hand and pressed it on him. In an instant, the Centipede Warrior's expression turned painful and ferocious. May watched from the side and knew what Su-Jean was doing. He's devouring Centipede Warrior's abilities. Snap! After a while, Centipede Warrior fell to the ground. May hurried over to get information from the Centipede Warrior, but before she could speak, she saw the Centipede Warrior's head tilted, his eyeballs suddenly burst, and he died. Don't waste your efforts, go support Coulson and the others. Su-Jean had expected this for a long time. Some kind of equipment was installed in the eyes of the Centipede Warriors. Clairvoyance could see what he saw through the eyes of these Centipede Warriors. It could also be activated by remote control to avoid leakage of oral sex. Wind. When Su-Jean and May came to Coulson's side, the situation here was not too optimistic. Coulson seemed to be injured, leaning against a nearby cargo box. Michael, on the other hand, was facing 2 Centipede Warriors, and was outnumbered and in danger. Go see how Coulson is doing. Su-Jean shouted at May, then waved his arms, and 2 ropes appeared instantly and were wrapped around Centipede Warrior's body, and he was dragged away. Glancing at the embarrassed Michael, Su-Jean nodded towards him, then turned around and let the 2 Centipede Warriors collide fiercely with each other in the air. 1 hit, 2 hits. After several consecutive collisions, the 2 Centipede Warriors were already stunned by the collision. Su-Jean was slowly pulled back and pulled in front of him. Stretch out your hands and activate your devouring ability. The abilities of the 2 Centipede Warriors were swallowed up instantly, and they swallowed the Centipede virus 3 times in a row. Su-Jean felt slightly uncomfortable. Are you okay? Coulson and others came over and asked with concern. Su-Jean shook his head. It's okay, I may need to take a rest. Then you stay and rest, and we'll see if we can find any clues. Coulson said something and then left quickly with May and Michael. Su-Jean walked to the nearby cargo box and sat down. The 2 Centipede Warriors were already dead. System, there seems to be something wrong. I only swallowed 3, so I shouldn't have any reaction. Why do I feel so uncomfortable now? Su-Jean sat down next to the cargo box, frowning and asking the system. He could feel his body rolling at a very fast speed, which made him a little nauseous and very, very uncomfortable. The centipede virus is a variant of the extremis virus. It is mixed with a variety of elements and is somewhat repellent to the extremis virus in your body. In other words, the fusion process is not smooth. This has nothing to do with the fact that you have devoured several abilities, but because the extremist virus is related to the centipede virus. But you don't have to worry, your body is automatically adjusting to the fusion of the two viruses, so there won't be any danger. The system's answer made Su-Jean breathe a sigh of relief. I didn't expect that the fusion of centipede virus and extremist virus would have such a problem. If the fusion is successful, the effect will definitely be stronger, right? As he thought about it, Su-Jean felt that his head felt a little heavy and he felt a little drowsy. He stood up with difficulty and prepared to leave the factory. Anyway, Coulson and the others shouldn't be in any danger, and they won't gain anything. It would be too embarrassing if I fainted here. After leaving the factory, the breeze blowing outside made Su-Jean sober up. The thought of falling asleep is a natural reaction of the body's fusion, and it cannot be sustained by willpower. I have something to do, so I'll leave for now and see you later. Su-Jean said something on the walkie-talkie and flew away quickly. In the end, he didn't know where he landed before he landed. There happened to be a hotel nearby, so he went straight in. After opening the room, Su-Jean lay down directly, and then, lost his will. Su-Jean felt as if he had had a dream. In the dream, his body had changed, a change that was difficult to describe, but he could feel full of power. Not knowing how long it took, Su-Jean slowly woke up. Outside, night had fallen and it was pitch black. The room was a little dim. After getting up and turning on the light, Su-Jean looked at his phone and realized to his surprise that it was already past 9 o'clock in the evening. I slept for 6 or 7 hours, right? After feeling the condition of his body, he could feel that his strength had increased a lot even if he didn't do anything. With a thought, his body turned into lava, and almost instantly, the room was filled with heat. Su-Jean even found that the wooden bedside table showed signs of burning. It seems that the power after fusion has at least doubled. Su-Jean nodded with satisfaction, and then checked the phone records. Sky, Coulson, several missed calls. Su-Jean instantly remembered that they might be in trouble. Where are you? Su-Jean called Sky back, and Sky's tone was slightly heavy. Where are you? Something happened. I know, I'll go back right now. As soon as he heard this tone, he knew how far things had progressed. Su-Jean didn't check out, opened the window and flew away. When Su-Jean returned to the plane, May, Sky, Simmons, and Fitz all had ugly expressions on their faces. Su-Jean, Coulson was taken away, and Michael is probably dead too. Seeing Su-Jean, Sky couldn't help but whisper. Sure enough, it has happened. Su-Jean sighed in his heart, but he wasn't too nervous. He knew where Coulson was captured, and he also knew that Coulson knew the reason why he was resurrected. After all, he was stabbed to death by Loki during the Battle of New York. As for Michael, he did not die, but was transformed into a death warrior by the Centipede Warrior organization. Of course, there were some twists and turns during this period, but after all, the result was good. As for the twists and turns, you can avoid them outside as long as you are here. Don't be downcast, they will be fine. Su-Jean said loudly. Are you sure? Sky asked. Su-Jean nodded, pointed to his head and said with a smile, of course, I'm sure, because I can see it very clearly. After he said this, everyone remembered Su-Jean's ability to predict the future. After understanding this, everyone breathed a sigh of relief and their emotions gradually became higher. Chapter 0079 Reina's Charm. You said just now that nothing will happen to them. Do you mean that Michael is fine too? Sky, who had calmed down, suddenly thought of what Su-Jean had just said and asked hurriedly. Chapter 63. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Su-Jean nodded. At least he's not dead, but I can't tell whether it's a blessing or a curse. Not dead. That's good. The clairvoyant people caught Michael's son before and threatened Michael, asking him to hand over Coulson to them. We originally planned to use the trick, but we didn't expect that the other party was too cunning, and there was an explosion. We thought Michael had. Sky couldn't continue. Has it been blown up to ashes? Su-Jean continued her words. If it is an ordinary person, maybe, but Michael has used the centipede virus. Although the centipede virus is not as good as the extremis virus, it has super recovery ability. But he will definitely not die. That's good. Do you know where they are now? Let's rescue them quickly. Sky asked, and the others looked at Su-Jean nervously. Su-Jean hesitated for a moment and said, I roughly know where Coulson is. I'll be responsible for finding him. As for Michael, I don't know where he is, but I can guarantee that he is not in danger and will come back in the future. It's just that, he may experience some things, but I think it is necessary for him to go through these things. At least, there is no harm. If nothing else, Michael would have become disabled by this time, right? Now that everything has happened, let it take its course. If we save him now, won't his pain be in vain? Believe me, I will bring Coulson back. Su-Jean said solemnly to them. His words made everyone feel relieved, and they couldn't help but believe that Su-Jean would definitely do what he said. Seeing that their mood improved, Su-Jean left and prepared to find Coulson. Coulson is different from Michael. He was captured because the other party wanted to know the secret of Coulson's resurrection from the dead, so although he will be tortured, it is mainly mental. What's more, he also wants to get the answer. Some abandoned town. It was built in the 1940s to conduct nuclear tests, but after the project was stopped, it was abandoned. It is desolate, with no grass growing, and is surrounded by endless desert, as if it has been forgotten by the world. Coulson is being held here, tormented by the Edison wave. He tried to break Coulson's will, but Coulson talked and laughed and never gave in. But the changes in things were beyond Coulson's imagination. Woman, Lena, suddenly appeared, and at the same time Edison received a call from a clairvoyant. During the conversation, Edison suddenly died of poisoning. Clairvoyant asked Lena to take her place and find another way to figure out the mystery of Coulson's resurrection. Raina is a smart and charming woman. She knows how to use language and exploit the vulnerabilities deep in people's hearts to achieve their goals. She let Coulson go, got him some water, and talked to him like a friend. Coulson was determined, but Lena's encouragement gradually changed his mind. He should be dead, but he is still alive, and has an almost beautiful memory of healing, but deep down in his heart he is shaken. He doubts that this is true, and wants to know if he is really dead and why he is alive. Already? Under Rena's instigation, Coulson finally lay down on the machine that can stimulate memories. His memory gradually changed. Massage Island. The original healing memory changed and turned into an operating room. His head was opened and a machine was working rapidly on his head to stimulate his brain nerves to stay awake. The pain was unbearable for him. He yelled and begged the other party to kill him. Don't let him live, don't let him suffer this kind of pain. Raina had been watching Coulson from the side, listening to his cries of pain, listening to his muttering to himself, taking the opportunity to record the information she wanted. Suddenly, Raina felt a palpitation in her heart, as if some danger was coming. This feeling is very sudden, but Raina believes in this feeling. After glancing at Coulson, Lena turned and left. As soon as she walked out of the room, Raina stopped subconsciously. She saw someone she didn't want to see and was afraid of seeing. Beautiful flower girl, we meet again. Su-Jean looked at Raina with a smile, and Raina forced a smile, but it was extremely ugly. It seems that you haven't seen the true face of clairvoyance yet. But it doesn't matter. I said last time. I will give you time and give you a chance. Now, this sentence is still valid. Su-Jean said with a smile. Why? Raina asked inexplicably. Why do I let you go over and over again? Although your skin is a little dark, you also have a different kind of charm. Maybe it's because I like you. Admire you. Su-Jean looked at Raina. Although Raina is black, her skin color is not that completely dark, and she is not beautiful at first glance, but her character or temperament has a different kind of charm after being exposed to her for a long time. The most important thing is that Su-Jean knows that she is not an absolute bad person. In this world, the division between good and bad people is not so clear. It just depends on who stands up for justice. A capable, charming, and not so bad girl. The most important thing is that there is no threat to herself or the people around her, so why not let her go? Although she is just an ordinary person now, she actually has another identity. Reina is gone. Although she doesn't believe that Su-Jean really fell in love with her and let her go, at least she is still alive. After Reina left, Su-Jean entered the house and saw Coulson lying on the machine in pain. Okay. Su-Jean put him down and comforted the painful and excited Coulson. Coulson gradually calmed down and opened his eyes to look at Su-Jean. Why bother? Some memories are not that important. It would be easier not to know than to know. Su-Jean said with a sigh. Coulson shook his head weakly, his eyes firm, at least. I know what happened. Shaking his head, Su-Jean helped Coulson out of the room, released energy to wrap around him, then jumped into the air and left the town. Chapter 0080 Give you a perfect date. Although Su-Jean promised to bring Coulson back, no one expected it to be so soon. I went out for a trip, and when I came back, I had brought Coulson back. Although Coulson didn't seem to be well, they were minor injuries and were fine after simple treatment. In comparison, the mental shock may be stronger, but no matter what, everyone is relieved that Coulson is back safely. Coulson also knew that Michael was not dead, so they followed him to investigate his whereabouts, but unfortunately, there was no news. Are you going back to base? Sky came to Su-Jean and asked softly. Su-Jean nodded. Well, I don't have anything to do here. I'd better go back to the base and build the base as soon as possible. However, I still have something to do before I go back. What's going on? Sky asked curiously. Having dinner with a certain woman. I just checked and there is a very good restaurant. I just don't know if that beauty would appreciate it. She wants to have a candlelight dinner with me. Su-Jean looked at Sky and smiled. Sky smiled, happily. I think she will definitely be willing. If there is something else after the candlelight dinner, she might also be willing. Is this a hint? Su-Jean put his arm around Sky's waist and asked softly. Sky shook his head, drew circles on Su-Jean's body with his hands, and said with a smile, My dear, this is not a hint, this is a clear statement. Well, it seems that if there are no other activities after the candlelight dinner, then I am too confused about the style. I don't know whether it was because of her drawing or for some reason, but Su-Jean really felt a little itchy now. Think about it, Sky is his girlfriend in name, and she is also the one he has been with the longest and has the deepest affection for. Precisely because of this, Su-Jean is also restraining himself, not wanting to make it happen so hastily the first time. But now it seems, some things are better just plain and simple. What's the saying? When there are flowers, it is necessary to break them. Don't wait until there are no flowers to break branches. Chapter 64. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Why did you bring me here? This doesn't seem to be a restaurant, right? Su-Jean took Sky out of the base. This was Sky's first time on the street without a mission after becoming a S.H.I.E.L.D. consultant. During this period of time in S.H.I.E.L.D., Sky was either investigating his parents and life experience, or going on missions with him, and he never went out alone. Of course it's not a restaurant, doesn't it say? Clothing store. Su-Jean said with a smile. Sky explained in confusion, Of course I know this is a clothing store, but why did you bring me here? Of course you came here to buy clothes. Although you usually dress very nicely, we are going on a date and have a candlelight dinner later. Shouldn't we dress up more beautifully? Not to mention, after dinner. It's active, so. Su-Jean explained with a smile. Sky understood instantly, interrupted him and said, So, in order to leave an unforgettable memory, let's go in and pick out clothes quickly. Seeing the anxious yet happy Sky pulling his arm in, Su-Jean couldn't help but smile softly. In the clothing store, there was a dazzling array of high-end dresses. The clerks were all very qualified. They did not look down on Su-Jean and Sky just because they were wearing ordinary clothes. They introduced the clothes professionally. They are all so beautiful, my dear, what do you think of this one? Sky took a red evening dress and asked Su-Jean. Su-Jean thought for a while and said, Yes, it's very beautiful, but I think red doesn't suit your temperament. Black or purple would be better. Yeah, Sky nodded, very satisfied and happy with Su-Jean's answer. He is not perfunctory about himself, but understands himself. A woman can find a man who understands her. Is there anything happier than this? How about this one? Su-Jean took a tight black evening gown with strapless shoulders. Sky took it over to compare and liked it very much. Go try it. Seeing that Sky was satisfied, Su-Jean looked forward to the effect of wearing it on her body. Sky entered the fitting room. Su-Jean waited outside for almost 5 minutes when he heard Sky's voice. Honey, can you come in and help me? Of course, it's my honor. Su-Jean responded with a smile and entered the fitting room. There was not much space inside. Sky's back was facing him, her white back was exposed, and the zipper was not closed. Let me help you. Su-Jean helped Sky pull up the zipper from behind. The moment he pulled it up, he could clearly feel Sky making an inhalation movement. What's wrong? Are the clothes too small and a little tight? No. It's okay. Sky shook her head and turned around, and Su-Jean instantly understood why she was inhaling. It's true that the clothes are a little tight, but it's not tight overall, just a little tight around the waist. What are you laughing at? Sky asked angrily when he found Su-Jean staring at him and snickering. It's nothing, I just laughed at my girlfriend's good figure. The designer of this dress must not have thought that someone with such a good figure would wear it, otherwise he would definitely design the size to be more reasonable. Well, if you feel uncomfortable wearing it, just change it. It's not uncomfortable, and it's beautiful, don't you like it? Like it? Then take this one. Okay, listen to you, I remember there is a shawl out there, it just matches. This dress is indeed very beautiful, especially when it is worn on Sky, it is full of charm. However, it is a little cool and perfect with a shawl. As for waiting until dinner is over and no one else is around, then take off the shawl. Su-Jean is very stingy. Naturally, only he can love his woman when she is at her most beautiful. After coming out of the fitting room, I bought the dress and shawl directly and put it on. Then he walked out of the clothing store and headed to the restaurant. Sky at this time was completely different from before. He had a high rate of turning heads along the way. Sky kept holding Su-Jean's arm with a happy face. The feeling that he only had eyes for you and no one else made Su-Jean his vanity was greatly satisfied. Why is there no one? That the two came to the restaurant. Sky found that there were no other customers in the restaurant. After subconsciously saying something, he saw Su-Jean's proud smile and reacted instantly. You're not going to take over this whole place, are you? Yes, every woman should have had similar fantasies in her heart, right? As your boyfriend, your man, I feel it is my obligation to give you a perfect date. Chapter 0081 The difference between girls and women. Elegant environment, romantic atmosphere. Su-Jean and Sky sat down face to face. The lights in the restaurant instantly dimmed, and the candlelight on the table flickered, illuminating Sky and making her look even more attractive. Especially the corner of the mouth that never drops, that kind of happiness and sweetness makes people unable to help but feel happy just looking at it. The melodious violin sounded, and the sound was cheerful and melodious. Romantic candlelight dinner, beautiful violin, men and women who love each other. This dinner can be said to be quite perfect. Occasionally, our eyes would meet, and we would smile as if we were understanding. More than an hour had passed before we knew it. My dear, are you satisfied? Su-Jean held Sky's waist and left the restaurant, and asked in a low voice toward Sky, who was leaning against him like a koala. Sky nodded heavily. She couldn't think of anything more satisfactory than this. This memory, she would never forget it. Then let's move on to the next situation. Su-Jean smiled and tightened her waist slightly. Well, it's all up to you. Sky's pretty face turned slightly red and hot, and she responded obediently. There was a nice hotel near the restaurant. The two of them went to the hotel, got a room, and took the elevator. As soon as the elevator door closed, the two of them approached each other and kissed passionately as if they had a telepathy. Ding! The elevator door opened, but their emotions had already been ignited. They found their room, opened the door and rushed in. Bang! Su-Jean gently hooked the door with his foot and closed it. The shawl was pushed aside by Su-Jean, and the two of them clung to each other, as if they didn't even want to spend a little time apart. They were like conjoined twins who took off their clothes with great effort and eagerness, and then lay down, looking at Sky, who had a pink complexion and affectionate eyes. Su-Jean's eyes slowly moved down, just like a king examining his own territory, looking at every inch of the place carefully. Sky couldn't bear the scorching gaze and closed her eyes nervously. Suddenly, she felt hot and gentle hands on her face, and then she heard Su-Jean calling her name softly. Sky opened her eyes subconsciously, but suddenly felt that it had already begun. What is happiness? For Sky, being able to be with a man she likes and who likes her is happiness. Perhaps because of her life experience, she lacked family care and lacked a sense of security, and she even felt that she was content. Chapter 65. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Even if. I don't know who my parents are, even if, so what if I don't have a happy family? I have him, Su-Jean, he is my home. Sky slept very sweetly and deeply. His hands were already holding Su-Jean's neck, and he refused to let go even in his sleep, for fear that Su-Jean would disappear if he left. There were no lights on in the room and it was a little dim. Su-Jean just looked at Sky up close and saw her smiling in her sleep. Sky reached out her hand in a daze and felt that there seemed to be no one around her. This startled her and she woke up instantly. When she opened her eyes, Su-Jean was no longer around. She stood up in a panic. Just as she was about to call Su-Jean's name, she suddenly heard the door knock, and then saw Su-Jean walking in carrying something. Where have you been? Sky got up and threw herself into Su-Jean's arms. Su-Jean smiled and said, Go buy breakfast. I thought. Sky muttered. You thought I left. How is that possible? Although I may not be with you every day, it is absolutely impossible for me to leave at this time. Su-Jean didn't expect that Sky would be so clingy to him. It seems that girls and women are indeed it's different. After Sky transformed, her dependence on him increased exponentially. Yeah. Sky nodded and got up from Su-Jean. Are you still sleeping? If not, come and eat. Yeah. Like a yes man, Sky happily agreed without getting dressed, and just had breakfast with Su-Jean in the living room. Although it was just an ordinary breakfast, Sky seemed to be eating some kind of feast, feeling particularly satisfied. What are your plans today? Are you going to go back to S.H.I.E.L.D. or follow me? Su-Jean asked. Sky thought for a while and said reluctantly, Of course I want to follow you, but I'd better go back. I have found some clues. I hope I can investigate them as soon as possible, and then I can follow you forever. Okay, I'll take you back later. After having breakfast and resting for a while, the two of them washed up and got dressed before leaving the hotel. Back on the S.H.I.E.L.D. spacecraft, everyone found that Sky seemed a little different, as if she had a very unique charm. When they thought of Su-Jean taking Sky away to spend the night outside, how could they not know? What happened? Coulson even made a joke about Su-Jean, saying that he was injured, but you took Sky out for romance. Isn't it a bit too much? Su-Jean just said one thing about this. Envy. Envy, you should also find a girlfriend. Maybe it can soothe your wounded heart. If you have nothing to do, you can take a rest today. I'm back at the base. If you miss me, just call me. Su-Jean kissed Sky on the cheek and was about to leave. When he turned around, he happened to see Simmons. There was a very strange expression on her face, as if she was envious. Or, are you jealous? Su-Jean smiled at her, and Simmons hurriedly put away his expression and smiled at him. You are pretty. After Su-Jean left, Simmons came to Sky and couldn't help but exclaimed. Sky smiled and said, Isn't the dress beautiful? No, it's not the clothes, it's your temperament, which is more feminine. Simmons thought for a moment and said, You are like a shining gem now, dazzling. Sky smiled sweetly, she could feel the change in herself as well. Is this the difference between girls and women? Su-Jean, when can I become a woman? Simon subconsciously thought of the scenes where he and Su Zhan were getting along, of him lying on his lap, of him and himself the conditions proposed. Ah, sneeze, Su Zhan suddenly sneezed while flying. It's strange, we just separated, but Sky misses me so soon. Shaking his head, Su Zhan was about to speed up when he suddenly noticed a light appearing from the corner of his eye. It was a very familiar light. It was the light that flickered when the portal was opened. Why is she here? Su Zhan was a little curious, so he changed his direction and flew over. Chapter 0082 Hellfire Club. Where are the people? After landing, Su Zhan found that Flicker was missing. Looking around, I found an abandoned parking lot surrounded by scrapped cars. Su Zhan was a little confused. Shuang was not in the base, so why did he come here suddenly? If it's for privacy, there's no need to choose to open the portal here, right? The confused Su Zhan was about to call Shuang and ask, but suddenly he heard movement behind him. When he turned his head, he was surprised to find Shuang walking over from behind him. What are you doing here? Are you here to buy something? Because Flicker can teleport, she is basically responsible for the shopping, so Su Zhan asked this question. Yes. Flicker nodded and walked over. Su Zhan frowned slightly, feeling something wasn't right. Bland. Flickering's reaction was too bland. In the past, when Flickering saw him, he would call him boss first. It was absolutely impossible for him to react as bland as he did now. Etc. Su Zhan frowned and shouted, "Are you okay?" Me? Of course I'm fine. Twinkle said doubtfully. No, you're in trouble. Her reaction further confirmed Su Zhan's suspicion. Looking at her warily, Su Zhan said with a sneer, "Although I'm not sure whether this is an illusion or mental control, I'm sure that you are not blinking normally. So, no matter who you are, you better come out, otherwise let me find you, and I will let you know what will happen to those who provoke me and provoke me." I'm curious, how did you tell? Twinkle's expression suddenly changed, becoming playful, and the tone of her voice was also somewhat different. Mind control, this shouldn't be an illusion, it should be someone controlling the flickering. There are many people who know how to control minds. For a moment, Su Zhan really couldn't guess who could control Flicker. It's very simple. Although you control Flicker, you are not her, so naturally you don't know how we get along. Su Zhan looked at her coldly and said slowly. So that's it. It seems that you are really familiar with each other. You can tell the clues with just a few words. Shuang smiled softly and then said, "Want to know who I am? Then follow me." Bar. Chapter 66. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. After she finished speaking, Huan suddenly released the portal. She glanced at Su Zhan with a somewhat provocative look. "Do you think I don't dare?" Su Zhan sneered. The other party clearly came for him. Even if there was any trap, he had to go. Jumping into the portal, the scenery in front of you suddenly changed. He appeared in a room that was very stylishly decorated. On the soft leather sofa, a blonde woman was holding a wine glass and looking at Su Zhan with a smile. Behind her stood a red-skinned man. Behind Su Zhan, there was a man leaning against the door. He has shawl-length hair, his eyes are painted black, and he is holding two short knives in his hands and playing with them casually. He looks a little unconventional and a little cold. "Welcome to Hellfire." The blonde woman raised her glass and smiled at Su Zhan. "Hellfire Club?" Su Zhan was slightly surprised. The Hellfire Club is a relatively famous and powerful organization among mutants. It is different from the X-Men who try to coexist peacefully with humans and the Mutant Brothers to conquer the Earth and let mutants inform humans. Hellfire Club takes the elite route and develops its own. It is not low-key, but it is not that high-profile either. Looking at the blonde woman in white clothes in front of him, Su Zhan already knew who she was. Looking around, Su Zhan named them one by one. White Queen, Red Devil, that is Zhengtu, right? It seems that you know Hellfire very well. That would be even better. In fact, the purpose of inviting you here is to hope that you can join the Hellfire Club. The White Queen said with a smile. Su Zhan pouted, "The person who controls me invites me. This kind of invitation is really sincere. There's nothing I can do. Who doesn't know that you, Su-Jean, are not easy to mess with? I don't want to send people to their deaths like Magneto. The White Queen lazily brushed her hair, pointed to the sofa opposite and said, "Sit down, I have no plans to fight with you." Really? Then you still plan to use your mind to control me? Su-Jean sneered, walked over and sat down. Just now, he felt a surge of spiritual power pouring into his brain, but it was blocked by the spiritual barrier of the lamp ring. Obviously, the White Queen just tried to control herself mentally. I'm just trying, even though I know it's unlikely to succeed. The White Queen didn't deny it, with that calm look as if she just did a trivial thing. Tell me, what's the purpose of going to all this trouble to get me here? You are invited to join the Hellfire Club. What's the reason? Although you will also recruit non-mutants, why did you invite me? The most important thing is, why should I join? Su-Jean said lightly. Actually, I've been paying attention to you since you had the ability to swallow pyro. At first, I thought you were also a mutant, but then your ability to swallow the Fantastic Four's Human Torch made me discover that you are not a mutant. Your abilities are very strong, very scary, scary enough to make everyone fear you and wish to destroy you. Only in this way can they ensure their own safety. The reason why you are so stable now is partly because of your strength, because of the method. However, it is only for now. When everyone knows your strength, someone will naturally take action. For example, Magneto. That the White Queen's words made Su-Jean curl his lips slightly. Of course he knew this. A person who could devour other people's abilities must make everyone fear him. If it were him, if he had the chance or confidence, he would also destroy him. However, Su-Jean was not worried. So what? My strength is not so easy to figure out. Su-Jean said calmly. Yes, I believe you will get stronger and stronger. It is precisely because of this that I want you to join the Hellfire Club. I can help you reduce your troubles and provide you with help. The White Queen said seriously, I can help you find whatever abilities you need. Believe me, as long as I help you, you can become stronger in a short time. It sounds good, but there is no free lunch in this world. If you help me like this, what will I have to pay? Su-Jean asked. The White Queen shook her head and said, No, you don't need to pay anything. As long as you ensure the safety and development of Hellfire after you become stronger, it will be enough. This is just a piece of cake for you, isn't it? Chapter 0083 Who doesn't know how to control minds? Hellfire still needs help and protection from others. Su-Jean raised his eyebrows slightly. The conditions given by the White Queen seem to be very good, even selfless. With the resources of the Hellfire Club, she can get whatever abilities she needs, and she doesn't need to step forward, which reduces a lot of trouble. And all he has to do is lend a helping hand when the Hellfire Club is in trouble. At first glance, it sounds like I got a big advantage. In reality, the White Queen is not a simple woman. Without the Black Emperor, she supported the Hellfire Club by herself. Instead of letting it decline, it developed very well. This shows her means and abilities. It's not easy for a woman to support such a big club. I'm very tired. Of course I hope I can get help. The White Queen sighed and said, but it will be different if I have you. Although it may bring some initial it's troublesome, but as long as you get stronger after this, no one will dare to provoke you, and as the club you provide help to, I think, you won't treat me badly, right? A very adventurous decision. Su-Jean admired her a little. Regardless of whether what she said was true or false, she would definitely have to bear pressure from all aspects. If others didn't say it, Magneto would definitely bear the brunt, right? So, you agree to join? The White Queen asked happily. Su-Jean smiled and shook his head. No, I'm not interested in joining. Why? The White Queen was a little confused. The conditions she gave were already very good, right? Help him solve his troubles and help him improve his strength. How could he not agree? Because your so-called conditions, or benefits, are not attractive to me at all, and I don't need a woman's protection. If anyone wants to come to me for trouble, let's do it. I will let them know to do so. What are the consequences? As for ability, I have my own channels and don't need your help. Su Zhan stood up slowly as he spoke, glanced at Shuang Shui, who had been standing by the side, and asked the White Queen, "Can I release you from your control?" The White Queen shrugged, flickering back to normal for an instant, and looked around in confusion. "Boss? Are you here? What is this place?" "I'll tell you later." Su Zhan shook his head and then said slowly, "There is an old saying in China that business cannot be done without kindness. Although there is no cooperation, I think, you should be happy to offer me a drink." The White Queen was about to speak when she suddenly discovered that Su Zhan's eyeballs had turned black. At that moment, she suddenly had a bad premonition and subconsciously prepared to turn into diamonds, but she suddenly lost consciousness. She stood up, poured Su Zhan a glass of wine and walked up to him. "That's it? There doesn't seem to be any sincerity. I heard that there is an interesting way to drink wine. How about you hold the wine in your mouth and feed it to me?" Su Zhan said with a smile. "You wanna die?" After Su Zhan finished speaking, the Red Devil became angry instantly. "How dare you let the White Queen feed you wine with her mouth? You are insulting the White Queen." With a roar, the Red Devil suddenly disappeared, and then appeared behind Su Zhan in an instant. At the same time, Zhenglu, who was leaning aside, also moved. The Red Devil was about to take action when he suddenly saw Su Zhan waving his hand behind him. In an instant, a strong wind swept over him and blew him away. However, the Red Devil reacted quickly and teleported as soon as he flew out. Disappear, then reappear from the side. Lie down. As soon as the Red Devil appeared, a huge hammer appeared above his head and hit him directly, with a loud bang. The Red Devil was smashed to the ground, and the hammer instantly turned into a cage, trapping the Red Devil. The Red Devil kept teleporting, but found that he couldn't get out, as if he was trapped in a cage. This made him extremely panicked. He had never encountered such a situation, and he was able to trap his teleportation. The Red Devil's teleportation is different from other people's. It is somewhat similar to Blink's ability, but the difference is that Blink directly opens the portal of time and space, while the Red Devil teleports to a special space first, a bit like a transit station. And then teleport to other places to achieve the effect of teleportation. He can still reach the transfer station, but when he comes out, he is still in the same place, as if other places are blocked. Su Zhan turned around and looked at Jingtu. He was about to rush over and take action, but Hui Hui next to him was not a vegetarian. Although he hadn't figured out the situation yet, it was obvious that he was going to take action. The teleportation crystal was thrown out, flickering and spinning Jingtu around. He would appear next to him, kick Jingtu into the teleportation gate and then appear somewhere else. Jingtu doesn't have any special abilities. Simply put, he has super endurance, strength, stamina, etc. He is similar to Captain America. He is a close combat character. He seems to have a certain sense of perception, but it has no effect on Flicker. The flashing motion was too fast. This is also thanks to the training that Flicker has undergone during this period. If it were before the battle with Su, her ability would definitely not be so strong. Chapter 67. You are listening at novelfull.audio. So, what do you think of the proposal I just made? Su Zhan turned around and looked at the White Queen. Good. The White Queen responded, picked up the wine glass and took a sip, then approached Su Zhan and kissed him. Feeling the wine flow into his mouth, Su Zhan reached out and pinched her waist, then laughed proudly. You can actually control your mind. The White Queen's expression changed slightly, as if she had woken up from the mental control. She took 2 steps back, and her body suddenly changed, turning into a sparkling diamond in an instant. Thank you for your warm hospitality. The wine is very good. Su Zhan said with a smile and greeted Shuang Shuang. In an instant, the portal opened behind him. Su Zhan turned around and came to the portal, turned to look at the hesitant, angry White Queen and said with a chuckle, as a friendly reminder, if you control the people around me next time, it won't be as simple as feeding them wine. Don't give me the chance to devour you and your people. After saying that, Su Zhan and Shuanghuan entered the portal and disappeared. Zheng Lu got up from the ground in embarrassment, and the cage on the Red Devil disappeared. The two of them came to the White Queen's side in an instant. The Red Devil said angrily, "Do you want me to catch them and bring them back? Can you catch him?" The White Queen asked calmly, and the Red Devil was speechless for a moment. Chapter 008 For the White Queen's interest. I didn't expect him to be able to control his mind. I was careless this time. It can be seen that he did this just to retaliate against me for controlling the flicker. It can also be regarded as a warning. The White Queen said in a very calm tone. What made the Red Devil very different was why she wasn't angry at all when she was so humiliated by Su Zhan. Even if Su Zhan's strength is not weak, it's not to the point where the White Queen is afraid, right? What makes the Red Devil even more puzzled is that the White Queen seems to be smiling, as if she is very satisfied. Pay attention to Magneto's situation. If he is harmful to Su Zhan, let me know immediately. The White Queen ignored the puzzling Red Devil and said in a low voice. Yes. The Red Devil responded, and then followed Jingtu and the two out. The White Queen walked back to the sofa and sat down. After exiting the diamond effect, she reached out and touched her lips. Su Zhan, I am becoming more and more interested in you now. I really want to know how far you can grow. So, before that, I will help you solve some troubles. I hope you won't let me disappointed. The White Queen murmured to herself, but Su Zhan and Huanhuan had already appeared in a remote place. Boss, what is going on? Who are they? Shuanghuan couldn't help but ask curiously. Hellfire Club, have you heard of it? Su Zhan asked. Twinkle nodded. I've heard of it, it seems to be a mutant force. Was it the Hellfire Club just now? Why are we there? The blonde woman just now is called the White Queen. She has telepathy and mental control abilities. After the second mutation, she can even turn her body into diamond. The other red-skinned one is called the Red Devil. Her abilities are similar to yours, and she is also instantaneous. Shift. As for the guy you're dealing with, his name is Jingtu. Even though he doesn't seem to have any special abilities, he is actually a master of fighting and strategy. Su Zhan briefly introduced the three people, and then said, as for us, why you are there is because you were mind-controlled by the White Queen. Think about it, what were you doing before? Why were you controlled? Huanhuan shook his head, I don't know either. I came out to buy something, and then I don't know, and then it was just now. It seems that the White Queen has really been paying attention to me for a long time. She should know my movements, know that I came back from S.H.I.E.L.D., know that you came out to buy things, and then used mind control to lure me to the Hellfire Club. Su the Battle found that the flicker was because she turned on the light from the portal, which was obviously intentional. He must have calculated that if he flew over there, he would definitely notice the flicker. It's all a calculation. Even if the White Queen really did this to cooperate with him and invite him to join the Hellfire, Su Zhan still felt unhappy. This could barely be regarded as a show of strength to demonstrate the White Queen's strength. It's better not to provoke such a calculating woman, although, the wine just tasted really good. You haven't bought anything yet, right? Let's go and buy the things and then let's go back. Su Zhan said softly, looking at the still confused flickers. Yeah. Twinkle nodded. We bought something together and returned to the base. Su Zhan worked with them. Several days passed in a flash, and Su Zhan stayed in the base without going out. During the day, they followed the construction of the base together, and at night, they absorbed ether particles. They were very peaceful, there was no movement from Magneto, and no one was sent to look for him. Hellfire was also very quiet, as if nothing had happened before. Even S.H.I.E.L.D. has no missions these days, as if the world has suddenly become peaceful. Although I know that the world will never be peaceful, these calm days are not bad. At least Su Zhan was allowed to work steadily for a few days, and the construction progress was very good. But this peaceful life soon ended, because the copy was refreshed. After the system upgrade, the copy refresh time was shortened to 15 days, and the retention time was extended to 7 days. The third dungeon plane has also begun. Su-Jean has considered the choice of dungeon plane. In the DC world, he is more familiar with the two planes of Green Arrow and the Flash. At the same time, because they are both in the DC world, they can also interact with each other. Judging from the timeline he analyzed, the one closest to the Green Lantern plane should be Green Arrow. When the Flash was born, Green Arrow had already been active in Star City for some time, and according to the news he saw in the Green Lantern plane, Green Arrow Oliver Queen was still in a dead state, which meant he was still alive. Did not return, therefore, the choice for the new copy is naturally Green Arrow. The reason why I chose this plane was firstly because of Phyllis. The second is because the energy rewards given by missions can upgrade the system. By the way, Green Arrow's fighting ability is quite strong, but he is weak in this aspect. So you can take this opportunity to improve your abilities in this area. Case selected, Green Arrow. Do you want to enter? Su-Jean had just set the third plane when a prompt sounded directly from the system. Enter. After the words fell, the scene in front of Su-Jean had changed. Speaking of which, he was a little curious about how this system transported him to the dungeon. His feeling was not strong, but the surrounding scene seemed to have changed instantly. Star City, a certain street corner. Su-Jean walked slowly on the street. Each superhero has his own territory, or protection area, such as Green Arrow's Star City, Flash's Central City, Green Lantern's Beach City, or Superman's Metropolis. Of course, there's also Gotham City's rich, handsome Batman. Star City is not particularly prosperous, and it is a city with a large gap between rich and poor. The rich are very rich, while the poor are getting poorer. It is easy to feel the current situation in this city when walking on the street. Oliver Queen is alive. Missing billionaire reappears. While walking, Su-Jean suddenly heard the sound of the TV coming from the store next to him. He turned around and saw that the news on the TV was reporting the news about Oliver Queen. It looks like Green Arrow has just returned to Star City. I didn't expect that this bastard was still alive. What a piece of luck. Someone next to Su-Jean muttered a curse and turned around angrily and left. Su-Jean shrugged. It seemed that Oliver Queen was really unpopular. Yes, this rich playboy was an out-and-out playboy before he became Green Arrow. Chapter 0085 Increased System Functions. Mission released. Main mission, help Green Arrow protect Star City. Chapter 68. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Side Mission 1, cooperate with Green Arrow to perform more than one mission. Side Mission 2, the friendship with Green Arrow reaches over 50%. Story Mission, the birth of the Justice League, leading the formation of the Justice League. Friendliness is on. The series of prompts surprised Su-Jean. It was normal to issue a mission, but this time it seemed a little different. System, what is the friendliness level? Friendliness, as the name suggests, is the degree of friendly relationship. The higher the friendship, the better the relationship and the more trust. At the same time, the fighting arena can be opened when the friendship reaches more than 80%. What's a fighting arena? It seems like you have more and more functions after upgrading. Su-Jean sighed. The fighting arena is a place for fighting competitions. Characters with a friendship level of 80% can appear in the fighting arena, and the host can spar and fight with them. Okay, this introduction is really official. Generally speaking, increasing friendship will be beneficial. Opening the fighting field is equivalent to having an additional training ground, right? This is really good. You can often learn from each other and improve yourself. Combat ability. By the way, is this friendliness only available in the dungeon plane, or is it also available in the main world? All of them. Is that so? It seems that this friendliness was activated because I entered the third dungeon, right? However, this mission is a bit unreasonable. There are just main missions and side missions. What the hell are plot missions? Leading the formation of the Justice League? Why didn't there be a copy of Green Lantern before? Also, I only stayed for 7 days, how could I form the Justice League in 7 days? Isn't this a big deal? Su-Jean complained depressedly. Story missions refer to joint missions started in different dimensions of the same world, with no time limit. The system explained. No time limit? That's about right. Su-Jean breathed a sigh of relief. Although there was no punishment for failing the mission, there was no reward for failing to complete the mission. Now that there is no time limit, there is no need to worry, so, in general, the main and side tasks need to be completed as soon as possible. But in the meantime, Su-Jean wanted to go to Hybin City to see Phyllis and make sure she was still there and that there was no problem. In this way, when I turn around and leave, I can safely erase the Green Lantern's plane and open a new one. As long as the timeline is connected, it is enough to retain one DC plane. Su-Jean bought a map from the newsstand on the street and found the location and direction of Hybin City. Then he released the energy of the lantern ring, soared into the sky, and flew quickly towards Hybin City. Not long after, Su-Jean arrived at Hybin City and found Phyllis's home among many high-rise buildings. Slowly floating to the balcony and landing, I pushed open the balcony. There was no one at home. Phyllis should be in the company at this time, right? Su-Jean thought for a while, then took out his phone and called Felice. Hello, I'm Phyllis. The phone was connected, and Phyllis's voice came from inside. It seemed like she connected directly without looking. Hello, I'm Su-Jean. Su-Jean deliberately said in the same tone. Ah. Phyllis called out immediately on the other end of the phone, followed by rapid breathing. You finally called me. I called you several times but didn't get through. I thought something had happened to you. Maybe the signal is not good. Where are you? You're at the company. Have you finished handling your matters? When will you come back? It will have to wait, but I sent something to your house. What was delivered to my house? You will naturally see it when you get back. I still have something to do here, so hang up first. After Su-Jean finished speaking, he hung up the phone. Phyllis put down the phone and couldn't help but wonder what Su-Jean had given her. No, I'd better go back and take a look. The curiosity in her heart was like a cat scratching her, making it impossible for her to concentrate on her work. Therefore, she simply put it down for the time being and went back to take a look, come out of the company and drive all the way home. Arriving at the door of her home, Phyllis found that there was nothing at the door, which made her curious. Didn't you say something was delivered? Why not? You can't send it directly to the house, right? She lives on her own, how can she be let in when no one opens the door? Etc. Phyllis suddenly thought of a possibility, hurriedly took out the key to open the door, then quickly opened the door and walked in. Su-Jean. Is that you? Are you back? As soon as they entered, Phyllis shouted excitedly. Su-Jean was sitting in the living room. Hearing Felice's shout, Su-Jean was a little surprised. How did you know it was me who came back? You're really back. Seeing Su-Jean, Phyllis rushed over excitedly, with great strength, and threw Su-Jean down on the sofa. Okay, I like your strong way of welcoming you. Su-Jean kissed her and said with a smile. I originally wanted to give you a surprise, but I didn't expect you to be so smart and guess that it was me who was back. I don't know, I just feel like you're back. Phyllis asked with a smile, but how did you get in? Have you forgotten that I can fly? Su-Jean pointed to the balcony with a smile. Phyllis patted her head and said cutely, yeah, I'm really stupid. By the way, will you still leave when you come back this time? I won't leave, but I should leave here occasionally. You know, I have special abilities and can be considered a superhero, so. I understand, I understand. Phyllis nodded repeatedly. As long as the two places are not separated, it is normal to leave occasionally for busy work. By the way, you asked me to help you choose a house. I've already found it. I'll take you to see if you like it. Phyllis suddenly remembered and said. Su-Jean shook his head apologetically. Let's look at this later when we have time. I have some things to deal with now. Are you busy this week? If nothing happens, can I take you somewhere? I can make arrangements. Phyllis said. That's fine. Then make arrangements as soon as possible. When you make arrangements, we'll set off. Su-Jean was going to take her to Star City. On the one hand, it was a vacation, and on the other hand, she could also complete the mission. Anyway, Phyllis knew her identity, so there was nothing inconvenient about it. Yes. Phyllis nodded, quickly got up from Su-Jean, and started making phone calls to arrange the trip. Half an hour later, after she finished the phone call, she was settled down. Su-Jean carried her to the balcony, slowly floated into the air, and flew back toward Star City. Chapter 0086 Oliver Queen. This was not the first time that Su-Jean had flown with Felice in his arms, but Felice was already excited. This feeling was completely different from flying in an airplane. Where are we going? Phyllis asked Su-Jean curiously. Star City. Su-Jean said something, and the energy of the light ring suddenly released around the two of them, and then turned into an airplane. Su-Jean and Felice sat together. Felice was surprised. She didn't expect that it could be like this. Variety. Why are you going to Star City? Phyllis looked around curiously for a long time before continuing to ask. I'm going to find someone, a superhero from Star City. This can be considered my mission. I can probably stay for a week. After a week, I have other things to do and I may have to leave. Su-Jean explained simply. Phyllis was a little disappointed when she heard that Su-Jean was leaving in a week, but after thinking about it she became happy again. Su-Jean had a task to do, but he still took him with him. Wasn't this enough to prove his status in his heart? Chapter 69. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. What's more, which girl doesn't worship heroes? Her boyfriend is a superhero, what else could she be dissatisfied with? After a short reunion, Felice had a lot to say to Su-Jean. The two of them just looked at each other and chatted in silence until they reached the sky above Star City and landed on an abandoned open space. Then they stopped. Down, withdrawing his energy, Su-Jean hugged Felice and said, let's find a hotel to stay in first. Yeah. Phyllis nodded. The two then went to a well-known hotel in Star City, opened a suite, and asked the hotel to bring some food over. It was almost noon after the two of them had eaten. Su-Jean sat lazily on the sofa, and Felice leaned against her, feeling the warm sunshine and enjoying the quiet moment. I don't know how long it took, but Phyllis broke the silence by speaking. Dear, didn't you say you were looking for a superhero from Star City? When will you go? Phyllis asked, raising her head. Su-Jean smiled and kissed her, and said, don't worry, it will be tomorrow. Is it because of me? If it's because of me, you don't have to do this. As long as you can be together, I will be very satisfied. Although I miss you very much and want to be with you all the time, but, our time is still it's a long time, isn't it? I am willing to be the woman behind your back. Phyllis said softly. Phyllis's character is like this, she is sensible, and she can clearly distinguish what is important. Su-Jean was actually planning to spend a day with Phyllis first, and then go find Oliver Queen. After all, 7 days should be enough time for him to complete the main and side tasks. But since Phyllis said so, Su-Jean could still say what. He kissed her hard and said, okay, the woman behind me, I'll go meet this superhero first and I'll be back soon. Go ahead, honey. Phyllis nodded in response. Su-Jean slowly stood up and left the hotel. Oliver Queen just came back, and the first thing he did when he came back was to find Laurel, his ex-boyfriend. Speaking of which, Oliver Queen did live up to his reputation as a playboy. When he went to sea 5 years ago, Oliver Queen took Laurel's sister Sarah with him. The two got together and ended up on the ship. But it sank, and everyone was dead. Therefore, when Oliver Queen came back, he came to Laurel to apologize. After the failure, he and Tommy were attacked when he left, which was also the reason why he started his journey as the Green Arrow. Speaking of which, Laurel is indeed very beautiful, and she later became the second-generation Black Canary. The first-generation Black Canary was her sister Sarah, but no one knows about it yet, and that's all for later. Su Zhan has no interest in Laurel, mainly because her relationship is too complicated. She was Oliver Queen's girlfriend at first. 5 years after Oliver Queen's death, she ended up with Oliver's good friend Tommy. Together, and then she had an incessant relationship with Oliver. Although she didn't end up with Oliver in the end, Su Zhan only liked the original product. At this time, Su Zhan was standing on the street corner holding coffee in his hand, looking leisurely at a man and woman in the distance. This couple is Oliver Queen and Laurel. It seemed that the two of them were not having a pleasant conversation. Laurel said something, then turned and left to go back to the law firm. When passing by a man, she said something dissatisfied. This man was Tommy, Oliver Queen's best friend, a typical rich second generation. Tommy shrugged helplessly and walked towards Oliver Queen, and then they went to the alley next to them to get the car. Su Zhan did not follow them, but watched them enter the alley, and then rushed into a van. Then there seemed to be gunshots, but soon everything calmed down again and the van drove out. After watching the van leave, Su Zhan chased after it. His speed was very slow at first, but when there was no one around, he flew directly up and followed the van in the air. The van drove around a long way, and then drove into an abandoned factory. The van stopped, and a group of men with masks and guns took Oliver Queen and Tommy inside. Su Zhan looked up and saw that a window above the factory was broken. His body slowly floated up. Su Zhan went in through the window and soon saw Oliver Queen tied to a chair and Tommy lying next to him. On the ground. "TSK, TSK, this treatment is too bad, isn't it?" Su Zhan shook his head secretly, but who made Oliver Queen the protagonist? What's more, this group of people came to him and wanted to know whether his father also survived with them. Oliver Queen. The man wearing a mask that looked like the Red Skull punched Oliver Queen to wake him up, then pointed an electric baton at him and asked in a deep voice, "Oliver Queen, your father was in that accident, did you survive?" Oliver Queen woke up and looked around calmly, observing the number and equipment of the other party. The man in the Red Skull mask was a little unhappy. "I'm asking you a question, and you need to answer me, do you understand?" The electric baton was placed sharply on Oliver Queen's body, and a strong electric shock made Oliver Queen scream. The man in the Red Skull mask bent over and looked at him. "Did he go to a desert island? Did he say anything to you?" he asked while continuously shocking him with an electric baton. Under the pain, Oliver Queen seemed to give in. "Yes, he said it, he said, 'I'm going to kill you.'" Oliver Queen glanced at Tommy, and after confirming that he was unconscious, he looked up at the red hole mask and said in a deep voice, "Should we start?" Su Zhan couldn't help but become interested and wanted to see what Oliver Queen's skills were like. Chapter 0087 Are You Green Lantern? Looking at Oliver Queen's sharp eyes, the man in the red hole mask smiled, laughing, as if he was laughing at his overestimation of his abilities. "Are you hallucinating? You are handcuffed to a chair." "Really?" Oliver Queen slowly spread his hands. "Now, not anymore." How is it possible?" The man in the Red Skull mask looked at Oliver Queen's hands with some disbelief, and hurriedly prepared to take action. But Oliver Queen reacted quickly, picked up the chair and threw it directly at him, then grabbed the electric baton and shocked another person. At this time, a man in the distance opened fire with a gun. Oliver Queen pulled a man over and stood in front of him. Bullets hit him one after another. When the bullets were fired, Oliver Queen suddenly ran. The man turned and ran, with Oliver Queen in hot pursuit. The movements are quite crisp and neat, which is already very strong for an ordinary person. Especially, what he is really good at is archery. Su Ji was slightly disappointed. Although Oliver Queen's movements were crisp and neat, he was not so good at it. Su Zhan was satisfied. Maybe it's because the opponent is too weak and has no chance to perform. Seeing that Oliver Queen was already chasing after him, Su Zhan thought for a moment, then the ether suit suddenly covered his whole body, and then followed him out. Outside, gunfire rang out. Oliver Queen's physical fitness is still extremely strong, and the tracking movements look very pleasing to the eye, giving it a parkour feel. The movements were very responsive. Soon, you were chasing each other and entered the factory next to you again. Bullets were crackling in an endless stream. Oliver Queen ran at a very fast speed, jumped up suddenly, grabbed the iron rope hanging next to him, and swung in the air. Then he came in front of the man, knocked off his gun, and then turned him around and strangled his neck. Don't kill me. The man reluctantly begged for mercy, but Oliver Queen shook his head with a firm attitude. No. My secret cannot be known to others. Click. Oliver Queen's arms used strength to break the man's neck and slowly put him down. Turning around, he was about to go back to check on his friend Tommy, but suddenly he found a person standing behind him, a man in a black uniform. This man looked young and had no mask on his face. He could clearly see that he was a man. Young, handsome Asian face. At this time, this face was smiling, drinking coffee and looking at himself. It looked very weird. I seem to have accidentally learned your secret. Are you going to kill me too? Looking at Oliver Queen's surprised look, Su Zhan asked with interest. Who are you? Oliver Queen looked at him warily. This man appeared so suddenly that he didn't even notice that he appeared behind him, and he seemed not to be with the masked men. Want to know who I am? It's simple. As long as you can beat me, I will tell you. Su Zhan smiled, stretched out his hand, put his fingers together, and hooked him. Chapter 70. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Although Oliver Queen knows who the person in front of him is, but since he wants to take action, let's fight him. With a low growl, Oliver Queen rushed forward, very quickly, and with crisp movements. Su Zhan held coffee in one hand and resisted with the other. He didn't use any abilities. After all, although Oliver Queen was powerful, he was just an ordinary person. Using abilities would be to bully him. What's more, Su Zhan's purpose is also to increase his close combat ability. Oliver Queen is very powerful, and his moves are fast and tricky. He is completely capable of fighting. Su Zhan's physical strength is stronger than that of Oliver Queen, and his reactions are also very fast, but he has a certain ability. It feels overwhelming, as if you will be defeated after just a few moves. This made Su Zhan very amazed. That's it, this is the close combat ability he wants. Boom! Su Zhan punched Oliver Queen, but Su Zhan didn't move at all. Oliver Queen was shocked and took several steps back. There was a dull pain in his fist, and he couldn't help but move his fingers to relieve the pain. He looked at Su Zhan in surprise, a little surprised by Su Zhan's physical strength and strength. Su Zhan slowly walked aside, put down the coffee, then walked back and said excitedly, "Come on, keep going." Bang! Bang! The two were fighting together again. This time it could be said that they were fighting hard. Su Zhan tried to take the initiative to attack, but Oliver Queen still had more experience than him, and he resolved them one by one. The more Su Zhan got, the more excited he became. In the end, he completely gave up on defense and switched to a fighting method of exchanging injuries for injuries. After a few punches, a look of pain appeared on Oliver Queen's face. Stop fighting! Su Zhan suddenly shouted to stop, but Oliver Queen got angry, ignored him and rushed forward again. Su Zhan shook his head. A dark green and transparent cell suddenly appeared next to Oliver Queen. It appeared very suddenly. Oliver Queen directly bumped into it and then bounced back. He looked at the cell with some surprise and swung it hard, but unfortunately the cage was unbreakable. Su Zhan turned around and took back the coffee, then bent down and sat down. The moment he sat down, a huge sofa appeared below, just in time to catch Su Zhan. Crossing his legs and drinking coffee, Su Zhan looked at Oliver Queen quietly. After a moment, Oliver Queen stopped. Calm down. Then listen to me. My name is Su Zhan, from Binhai City. If you pay attention to the news, you may have heard of a name. Su Zhan said with a smile. Green Lantern. Oliver Queen said suddenly. It seems that you have heard it. This will save me an explanation. I came to you for no other reason than to get acquainted. Now it seems that my trip was not in vain. You should still have. There are a lot of things to deal with, so, when you are done, if you are interested, come find me. I think, you should know how to find me. Su Zhan said with a smile, and the cell next to Oliver Queen suddenly disappeared. Just when he was surprised, he suddenly discovered that Su Zhan had disappeared. Green Lantern, Su Zhan. Oliver Queen muttered something to himself, and then quickly went back. His friend Tommy was still waiting for him. Not to mention that he was kidnapped and someone died. The police would definitely come to the door. Explain how you were rescued. After all, he and Tommy were just ordinary people, and the other party had many people and guns. Originally, he planned to say that a hooded man saved him, but now, he has a new idea, a ready-made shield, Green Lantern. Chapter 0088 The goal of the inspection, not to mention that Oliver Queen used the Green Lantern name as a shield after calling the police, claiming that he was saved by the Green Lantern. After Su Zhan came back, Phyllis had just finished taking a bath, wrapped in a bath towel and was watching the news. Since she knew after her boyfriend became a Green Lantern, she paid special attention to some superhero matters. She often read some news about superheroes, and then compared them with Su Zhan. Naturally, she finally came to the conclusion that, no one is better than her boyfriend. Su Zhanxiang. Although it seems boring, Phyllis enjoys it. Come back so soon. Su Zhan came in and startled Felice. Su Zhan nodded and looked at Felice's body with burning eyes. Sometimes, half hiding her face while holding her pipa was more attractive. Yes, I just went to say hello. If nothing else happens, he should come to me later. Who is he? What superpowers does he have? Phyllis asked, standing up and walking towards Su Zhan in a deliberately seductive gesture, but before she even got close, Su Zhan rushed over and hugged her tightly, leaning heavily against him. Let's discuss this later. Now, don't you think we should do something more important? It's all up to you. Phyllis said, raising her head. Really? That's not as good as. Su Zhan smirked and pressed Felice's shoulders to let her squat down slowly. Felice blushed and understood what he meant, but she didn't refuse. He stretched out his little hand and unbuttoned Su Zhan's pants. As night fell, the two contented people lay together and talked about love. Oliver Queen did not come, and Su Zhan was not in a hurry. He believed that Oliver would definitely come to him. After all, he needed to hide his identity, and now he has discovered it. Yeah, it's impossible not to figure it out. If you don't come tonight, you will definitely come tomorrow. Therefore, Su Zhan enjoyed the warmth with Felice in a down-to-earth manner. Early the next morning, Oliver Queen was ready to come to Su Zhan. However, because of the kidnapping case the previous day, Oliver Queen's mother was worried about him going out alone and found him a black bodyguard, John Digg. You. Of course Oliver Queen didn't want anyone to follow her, but her mother said it would make her feel at ease, so he had no choice but to agree. It was not difficult for him to get rid of a bodyguard. After getting in the car, Oliver Queen chatted with John Diggle and asked about him. This John Diggle was once a soldier and became a bodyguard after retiring. John Diggle introduced his identity and at the same time expressed his strong confidence that he could ensure the safety of Oliver Queen. However, after he finished speaking, he found that Oliver Queen was missing. He had disappeared from the moving car. Yes, silently. After getting rid of John Diggle, Oliver Queen went directly to the hotel. He had already found the hotel where Su Zhan was staying. He wanted to find out why Su Zhan came to see him. Moreover, he seemed to know his secret. How did he know it? Bang bang bang. Oliver Queen came to the hotel, found the room where Su Zhan lived, stood at the door and knocked. After a while, the door opened. Oliver Queen was stunned when he saw the person opening the door. It was not Su Zhan, but a very beautiful woman. He was stunned, wondering if he was looking in the wrong place, but he heard the woman say, "Are you Oliver Queen? The billionaire who died 5 years and suddenly came back to life?" God, I really didn't expect him to say that. The person will be you. He. Aren't you here to see Su Zhan? Yes. Come in. Phyllis invited him in and explained, He just got up and was taking a shower. You can sit down wherever you want. Thank you. By the way, who are you? Oliver Queen nodded and asked after coming in. I'm his girlfriend, my name is Phyllis. Phyllis then remembered that she hadn't introduced herself yet. Oliver Queen. Although the other party knew his identity, Oliver Queen still introduced himself. Oliver Queen could tell that Phyllis was just an ordinary person, and she knew Su-Jean's identity and did it openly without covering it up. This can be seen from the side that Su-Jean does not have any malicious intent or conspiracy. Before coming, he also investigated the information on Green Lantern, but unfortunately there was very little information. There was only a brief report, and nothing could be seen at all. You came. Not long after, Su-Jean walked out, saw Oliver Queen, said hello with a smile, and sat down opposite him. I'm just here to figure out your intentions. What do you mean by looking for me? Oliver Queen asked directly. Su-Jean smiled and shook his head. Don't worry, Oliver Queen. You were in a shipwreck 5 years ago. Everyone thought you were dead, but you survived on a purgatory island in the Chinese waters and even practiced. You have a lot of skills. You came back because you want to save this city and atone for your father's sins. Am I right? Oliver Queen responded noncommittally. It seemed that he did know my secret. After talking about you, let's talk about me. You know that I have an identity called Green Lantern. This is just my identity or one of my abilities. This world is very big, or in other words, the universe is very big. There are a group of Green Lantern Corps, simply put, are envoys to maintain peace and are in charge of many sectors. The Earth and the surrounding planets belong to Sector 2814. To a certain extent, they are under my jurisdiction. Therefore, I have many things to do. I'm so busy, sometimes I can't take care of things on Earth. There are all kinds of dangers in this world every day, and similarly, many cities also have their own superheroes guarding them. You, Green Arrow, are the guardians of Star City. So I came to you, partly to get to know you, and partly to see if there is anything I can do to help. Of course, this is also an inspection.